This video was supposed to be a review about Limbus Company, but there's a couple of them, and a lot of them go over topics I would have talked about. So how about I talk about a little bit something different? The story is by far the best thing about the game, but a lot of reviews don't go into the specifics of it, and the videos that do go over the story tend to do it by sections or go into theorizing. So you know what? Screw it. Let's analyze it. I've analyzed the story as a whole, and I've come down to 3 points as to why Limbus Company's story is that good. So what the hell is Limbus Company? Limbus Company is Project Moon's third game and is a turn-based visual novel gacha game that...
Gotcha?
Gotcha, what the fuck?
Man,
That ain't it.
Getcha?
I get it!
Alright, yes, it is a gacha game, and gacha games are the second lowest denomination of games, just above Valorant. But Limbus Company is the golden child of gacha games. It's like if berserk artists drew for fucking children's coloring books. Like, god damn, you are too overqualified. On second thought, maybe don't let them draw for kids. But the point still stands. They're overqualified. What? Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Limbus. Limbus takes place in the city, a literal hell on earth, where the question is not how you will get violated, but when and how many times you get violated. To make a real world equivalent, it's like living in Flint, Michigan. Except better, because I will take the occasional sentient chicken or eldritch horror beyond my mortal comprehension over having to live in Flint, Michigan. Despite being the third installment, it's self-contained, so no need for extra reading, but it is highly encouraged. Now, with all the contextual stuff out the way, let's move on to the first point. We start the story like any other good story, getting jumped in the middle of the forest. These three stooges are after you to up their KD, but before they catch you, you turn your head into a clock. Why? I don't know. Before you meet the man upstairs, you hear the sound of a bus. 12 people pull up, standing on business to save your ass by kicking their ass. Oh, they're dead. I guess this is it. Except, nope. This guy shows up and wipes the floor with these goobers, and you use your special powers that make you a special boy. You know, for an introduction, this is pretty strong. You learn two things. One, there is a clear hierarchy, and you are the bottom of the ladder. Two, death is commonplace. In the span of, what, 10 to 20-ish minutes, 12 people die. And 12 of those are the main fucking cast. What the hell? If I had to describe the world building, it would be efficient. A lot of games like to give dissertations about the world and shit, but like, dog, let me explore the world. Let me find out for myself. Limbus doesn't do that. It just gives you what you need to know. And a little bit of foreshadowing. A lot of details about the world are here with a purpose, either to bring out relevant details on how the city works, or how it relates to the sinners. A good example of this, actually, is the second fight in the game. The rats! Oh wait, not these ones. These ones. You know how I said you were at the bottom of the rung? Yeah, these idiots aren't even on the ladder. So you kill them off quickly, and you find out how the energy system works. Yeah, the bus eats people. This is a great segue to my next point. Ludo-narrative harmony. You might have heard the opposite. Ludo-narrative dissonance, where gameplay doesn't match up with the story. Harmony is rare in games as these two elements aren't developed at the same time. but if used effectively, helps players get immersed into the game world. Basically, most, if not all, game mechanics are explained to Dante, or you. You're not an outsider watching the game play out. You are in the game itself, experiencing it with the rest of the sinners. One more thing before we move on. I want to talk a little bit about the setting. When talking about dystopian cities, there are two things they all have in common: guns and robots. In The City by Project Moon, these two elements are severely limited. Guns? Taxed to hell. Clankers? Banned. This gives way to an interesting power system. Since fighting is done through hands, we get a lot of abilities from time manipulation, blood manipulation, flame manipulation, and the more out there power sets like Ego, which is your true self made into weapons and armor, which leads to all kinds of narrative themes. These powers are distinct, yet believable that they coexist, since they are spread out across the city, which is a misnomer since the city is this big. To put that into perspective, Slovakia is this big. The city is comparable to a small country. Oh, and the population of the city? 6.4 billion. 2 billion shy from the current world population. The city is organized into 16 districts pertaining to the English alphabet, and each district has its own culture and way of life, as you can see in these background pictures. My favorite, honestly, has to be District 9, which is just a giant cube. It looks ridiculous, but it's really macabre that they managed to fit millions of people inside this cramped cube. Overall, the city is a hellhole to live in. The main character of a game defines how you interact with the world, and your POV character, Dante, is an odd fella. Despite being a main protagonist of a gacha game, Dante is pretty fleshed out as a character. In most gacha games, your main character is usually a self-insert, which often leaves interactions between you and other characters rather flat. These characters are often very competent from the start. Now, contrast this with Dante, who is very incompetent at his job as executive manager. He is so bad at his job, the sinners act accordingly. Speaking of which, let's talk about them. They're quite the colorful group. So let's start with the first one, Yisong.
이상이라.
The balls to introduce a main character like that. It's kind of refreshing to see a developer just not spill basically everything about a character under zero pressure. To quickly introduce the rest, we have Faust, Don Quixote, Ryoshu, Result, Honglu, Heathcliff, Ishmael, Rodion, Sinclair, Otis, and Gregor. It's a pretty large group, but Project Moon does a pretty good job at giving each sinner time to develop. One of the more recurring problems, especially with long-running series, is that the more characters you add, the harder it is to effectively write for other characters. The most notable example of this is the modern Ace Attorney games, which have similar fan bases. These games have 3 attorneys, couple assistants, and prosecutors, both current and previous, all of which have to fit into 5 cases, where most of the time, 1 or 2 characters who should be important get the short end of the stick. Compare that to the original trilogy, where there were significantly less characters, and therefore enough time to properly address each character and give them time to develop. Does that mean every sinner in Limbus gets adequate screen time? No, not at all. But at worst, Sinner will at least have a couple lines in an event or Kanto. Regardless of how much a Sinner yaps, how they yap is important. Limbus does a great job by creating scenarios and interactions where each Sinner's quirks have a chance to shine. Take for example Ishi and Heathcliff. One is a professional, no-nonsense, by-the-book scowl, and the other is an impulse-driven rough guy with a heart of gold. Two characters that are diametrically different and will bump heads a fair amount. All that head bumping leads to this illustration, and it is just chef's kiss. The raw, unfettered rage coming from Ishmael like, damn girl, I didn't think you would talk like that. That isn't even the best part. That was set up for this illustration. Here, the roles are reversed. Heathcliff is above Ishmael, but not out of rage, but out of care. No wonder why shipping is so prevalent in this goddamn game. It's not just these two, by the way. The sinners have their interactions like this, and thus develop as a group together. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the most important character developments. The Kantos. Yi-song was my second least favorite sinner, just eking out over Otis. I mean, look at him. He's depressed, he doesn't interact with the rest of the group in an interesting way, but after finishing his Kanto, he made me switch up so goddamn fast, he became my fourth favorite sinner. So before I explain his Kanto, I need to preface this with a spoiler. I intend to basically explain all of his background and motivation, so if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to the timestamp here. Before joining Limbus Company TM, Yi-sung was part of a group called the League of Nine, an inventors group. While there, Yi-sung was able to invent mirror technology as we know it, the thing that allows us to gamba, and he meets his mirror self, Song-yi. Then suddenly, one day, the group starts to fracture due to group members wanting to lead the group into different directions. So what did Yi-sung do? Absolutely fucking nothing. Nada. Eventually, the police raided the place, and Yi-sung goes along with Goobum here to N-Corp, with only Song-yi by his side. This left Yi-sung depressed, and he confides in Song-yi that he wasn't able to do anything, and he wished he had wings like him. After which, Song-yi helps Yi-sung escape, since he is a version of himself, and he too must have wings to make change. All this hardship he faced during the Kanto makes him realize the lessons he should have learned from the past. So he goes from this to this. Yippee! You can see this in the next event, after the Kanto, where he's considering gifts to the sinner, or suggesting suggesting volleyball to ease tension. And I mean, bless his heart, man. I think this is what truly sets Limbus stories from other stories. When a character completes their story arc, the story is basically wrapping up, and we really don't see them after the fact, unless there's a sequel. Here, once a character completes their story arc, they're still interacting with the other sinners in this new status quo, which I don't think I've seen anywhere else. So if you want a story worth following, you should pick up Limbus Company. Realistically, I could have lumped this into the character selection, but I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is the secret element that makes Limbus stories so great. The writing walks so that the voice acting can teleport to a goddamn different direction. When you open the game, you'll notice real quick that all the spoken dialogue is in Korean.
그분도 이렇게 일찍 받게 될 줄은 사실 몰랐는데 말이죠.
Which, like, goes hard for, like, no reason. I can't believe they got a real dog in the recording studio. That's wild, bro. And that wasn't even Limbus Company. Say what you want about Baby Girl Sinclair, but his VA does an amazing job. From Baby Girl
씹어요? 학교 교양 시간에 마라카스 기초를 배운 적이 있긴 한데.
to Boss Baby.
닥쳐라, 이 허세만 가득한 새끼.
닥쳐라, 허접이었다.
Special shout out to Dawn's VA. You can tell someone's having fun in the booth. Just listen.
그렇다면 과거 엄청난 이름을 날렸던 해결사 이겼다. 신문에 제대로 이름을 날릴 수도 있었을 절호의 기회였는데. 슈퍼레이저를 그자에게.
This VA has such an energetic and bubbly feel that encapsulates the character to a T. The rest of the VAs are just as good too, especially when they're bouncing off each other.
유령이 집은 오랜만이네요. 다시 온다면 가족과 함께일 줄 알았는데 이렇게 혼자서.
혼자라니 섭섭한 말을. 동료들이랑 함께 온 거지.
뭐 식구 같은 거잖냐.
As much as I love these lighter moments, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the more darker moments. And my god, I knew what good voice acting was, but I never knew what great voice acting was until Limbus Company. Again, spoilers for Kanto 6. Skip here if you want to play the story. So, our boy Heathcliff? Yeah, he ain't doing so well. This girl dead as hell, and the person who's fighting him, the person who's giving him so much shit, is himself from another world. It's a long story, just go with it. Yeah, so he's telling him that it's his fault that she's dead. All of this results in the most raw voice deliveries ever.
나를 짓밟아 기어코 캐시와 떼어놓은 그 모든 것들을 자루 안에 담아서 어디든 지옥까지 끌고 다니며 있는 힘껏 내려칠 거다.
This moment made me sit in silence for like a good few minutes. The amount of rage and grief in this moment was palpable. I haven't found a game that can make me feel so overwhelmed consistently with the raw emotion that is portrayed by these VAs. There are very few games I would consider a 10 out of 10, because there are very few games that make me feel so vivid when I remember them. And these moments here, it makes Limbus Company a 10 out of 10 for me. In the current era of gaming, the ability to tell a good story has been shot behind the alleyway. In other words, it's severely underutilized. And this is an untapped market. I mean, take a look at Dispatch, a Telltale-like game that focuses on story where others believe it would flop. It succeeded greatly, phenomenally even. So yeah, the market is still there. Limbus Company is the same way, except that it's very underrated, at least compared to where it should be at. How amazing the world building, sinners, and voice actors can be summed up in one final song at the end of each canto, Pass On. The illustration of the bus, whether triumph or failure, the interactions between the sinners based on what happened in the cantos, and the song sung by the VA, and that despite the hardships and trauma, they can still move on. With that, I leave off this video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice rest of your day.